Hello, everyone. Welcome to another day. It's the 11th day of Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, where we're getting a chance to talk to authors all month about fantasy romance, play some games, do some writing sprints. We actually have our 11th author today, which is our halfway point. We have 22 authors all together. So this will be our halfway point, which I'm really excited about. I'm Shannon. I write under the pen name of SD Huston, and you're here on my YouTube channel where I publish content about my self-publishing and my writing, and I do weekly writing sprints. I'm also part of the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Ben Pick from Running to Write and Morgan Lee. I'm also the founder and conference chair of the AuthorTube Writing Conference, now heading into its third year. And besides what I do here on YouTube, I am a fantasy romance author and YA fantasy author, with a passion for writing about broken characters who face adversity to become better versions of themselves. And there may or may not be a dragon, but there's always love to find. Today, I am joined by Katelyn Young. I will probably say Katie because that's how I've came to know Katie, was actually here through the community on YouTube. But we are going to spend some time talking about one of her books, play a game, and then do a sprint. But let me read you her bio. Katelyn Young is an author from Wisconsin. She has self-published 5 books, including The Vault, The Society, Omeo and Jewel, The Four, and I Know What You're Thinking. When she isn't writing or editing, she can be found glued to the television or spending time obsessing over all things vampires. So welcome to my channel, Katie. Is there anything else that you would like to add or just say hello?
Well, I want to say thank you for having me. I've been watching some of the shows and they've been really awesome so far. Anything else to add about me? So most of my books are vampire romance. My first series, The Vault and The Society, it's a duology, is completed. That was just like a vampire human friendship book. And then The Four and Omeo and Jewel are both the fantasy romance. And then I Know What You're Thinking is actually like a YA thriller.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a thriller. I know what you were thinking. Well, it's like I Know What You Did Last Summer is a horror, right?
I kind of based the name a little bit off that. And she can read minds, so it worked.
Oh, I love that. So you still have a little bit of that fantasy element in there regardless.
Yeah.
So let's go say hello to the chat. And I think our first person here was Lauren. Hello.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for stopping by.
Yes. And The Four is a great read if you love vampires. And that is the book that we're going to be talking about today. I have it here. Hold on. Here we go. The Four. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, anyone in the chat who's going to have any questions for Katie, please drop them in the chat. And if you can put them with the queue, that will make it easy to find. I forgot to set up my phone. I set my phone to see anything else that comes through.
Oh, okay. No worries.
I'll have to set it up.
Oh yeah, let me mute my phone. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so yes, I actually did read The Four. I was an ARC reader, so I got a chance to read it before it came out. So yes, I did love the book. Is it considered a novella?
Yeah, it would be a novella. I think it's only like 40,000 words, something like that.
Yeah, so it is a bit on the shorter side. But yeah, it was really awesome book.
Thank you.
All right, let's move into our questions. So what drew you to write in the fantasy romance genre?
And so anyone who knows me knows that I love vampires. So that's kind of like what brought me to the fantasy side. And then I do just like romance books in general, whether it's fantasy, contemporary, any of those type of romance. I was like, why not put them together for one? So this was my first fantasy romance book that I ever wrote.
Oh, I didn't realize that was your first.
Yeah.
Like maybe I felt like it was the beginning of your career. Was it the first book that you wrote all together, or is just the first romance?
It's the second book. It's the second book I ever wrote. The Vault was the first book I wrote, but that one didn't have any romance in it.
No romance. It was just the friendship. Okay. Which I love. I love those names, The Vault and Society. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, so let's talk about your book, The Four. Can you tell us about it?
So it's about a princess named Kiera. Her father is the king of the kingdom of Zane, and he arranges for her to be in an arranged marriage with 4 different vampires, Queen Anya, King Niles, King Derek, and King Victor. And she's in an arranged marriage with all 4 of them, and she has to choose which one she's going to marry. So she's given 1 month to choose one to marry. And that's the premise of the book. So there's one that she kind of gets like a friendship vibe with, one that she does not like from the beginning, and then it comes down to 2 love interests.
And that's Victor and Niles, if I remember.
Yeah, Victor and Niles, and then spoiler alert. Should I say who she ends up with? I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
I don't think yeah, and I don't think any of your reviews spoil it either. So maybe we shouldn't
Yeah,
say.
so I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah,
But she does end up with one of those two.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Bookish Fruits. Welcome to the channel. This is Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints. It's just a February show, one time during this month, showing where we're talking fantasy romance authors all month. So, and we will be doing a sprint here in a little bit. If that's, I don't know if you came because you're looking for a sprint, but let me see. I've got another question here. Yeah, what was your inspiration behind writing the four?
My inspiration behind writing the four, I really wanted to write something with like multiple love interests instead of just like one kind of like soulmate aspect, which is I did in a different book. So I wanted to dip my toe into the romance and give her different love interests just to have like different vibes with each one. And then of course I wanted vampires in it. So I made all the love interest vampires and they all have like different histories and backgrounds. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And yeah, so I just wanted to dip my toe into romance, start and include vampires for sure. And then I really like kings and queens and like that type of vibe. So I wanted to try writing that too.
Now, when you wrote this, and I did wonder when I remember your blurb being something along the lines that she had to pick one, but I did wonder if she could pick more than one. But of
I
course,
think
yeah,
after I joined TikTok, I probably would have had her end up with all of them. Just because like that's a thing that a lot of people are into.
yeah, the
Like
white
dating
shoes.
at least. Yeah, the like
Yeah,
poly wide shoes. I think that would be really interesting. One of the books like ideas that I have is actually a wide shoes, but or an idea that like is floating around my head, but I haven't really started it yet as a wide shoes romance. And I have a book cover for it because I have a really bad habit of buying pre-made book covers that I like without writing anything for them. So I have like 4 book covers right now that don't have books for them.
I think DL Tillery does that too. You know her, right? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she writes a bunch of pre-made book covers, and before she writes the stories. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool. I mean, isn't that like an exercise? I think that's an exercise almost all of us have in school, where we're given a piece of art and then we're saying write a story off of this artwork.
Yes.
It's kind of the same
Yes.
thing. A book cover, write a piece of or write a story off of this book cover.
Yeah,
So
and some of the book covers are like really gorgeous and they're just pre-mades and so they're on the more affordable side and you just pick one out that you really like, you buy it and then you write a story for it and it can work out.
yeah. So do you think that because this is a one and done deal, it's a one book and it's done. Have you ever thought about coming back to this story or
I have because I was thinking I could do like the other 3 royalty, like the
yeah.
2 or the 3 that she doesn't end up with. I was thinking, I could do their stories, but then I'd have to reread the 4 and I wrote that like 2 years ago. So I'd have to revisit the universe, but I think one day I probably will go back to it. I would have to find the same cover designer though, because I really love this cover. So
Well,
I'd want it to be in the same realm.
but they say it's good to update your covers every few years anyways. So if you ever did go
Oh, I
back
didn't
to
know.
it, you could just update. Yeah, because even the trad side, they do that. They update covers every few
Oh,
years.
that's
So
true. That's true now that I think about it. Yeah. I never
mhm.
really thought about that then because I
I
really
do
love
love
this
your cover
cover.
too. I do too. But it could be like a limited edition cover after you get it if you ever decide to recover it with
Okay.
with a
Yeah,
series
that's a
or
good
whatever you
idea.
have.
I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, okay, so let me go to the chat. There are a couple of questions there, and then we'll come back to my questions. Are you working on anything new, Kate?
I'm working on a lot of different things. I have a lot of different story ideas that have been floating around my head. I have one full book finished, or not finished, but I wrote the first draft, and I really do not like what I wrote. So it is another fantasy romance book with vampires in it, but there's a lot of other supernatural mythical creatures in it too, and it takes place kind of in like a forest area. So that's kind
Hmm.
of like so I wrote it, and then I do have a cover for it too, so that one's definitely gonna come out at some point. I just don't know if it's gonna be this year or not. Otherwise, I do have a bunch of other ideas floating around my head where I have, like, outlines, but I haven't started the writing the books yet.
So can I ask you what is it that you don't like about your draft?
Oh my gosh, okay. So, it's supposed to be an adult book, but, like, when I read it, it reads very YA, and
Mm.
so, like, it's just I don't know. I think it's the worst written book I've, like, wrote so far. And so I just have to go back and either, like, rehaul it or rewrite it, and I did do it during NaNoWriMo one year, so I think that writing it really fast which is usually how I write my books, is I usually try to do it in a month or else I kind of get bored.
Yeah,
So I try to write it in a short amount of time, and I don't know. There's just something about it that I need to, like, up the adult in it, make it a little
gotcha.
more spicy because it has, like, no spice in it. And there's nothing wrong with having no spice in your books, I like reading those books too, but just for, like, the idea I had for it, I wanted to add more spice to it and everything.
Gotcha. And are any characters based off of your personality?
Not in the 4. I don't think so. Yeah, not in the 4. In my book, The Vault, Amber, the main character, is kind of based off of me, and then Declan's kind of based off of like who I wish I was, kind of. So like he's more outgoing and out there, but not in the 4. Nobody's based off of me.
I think there's a little bit of me in almost all of my characters that I've written so far. But I have the series I'm writing right now, my 3rd book, and of course, all of my books in this series are based off of different couples, but they're all brothers. And the 3rd book, which I've written parts of it because all the books happen at the same time, so I have to know which timeline they're on and where they're at certain points. So I've written parts of it, but that the female for the main character, Nira, is her name. She is who I wish I could be. And I'm like, she's not like me at all. I wish I could
those
be.
characters can be fun to write too.
Yes.
Like, just like your ideal person, or like ideal image of yourself. That's really fun.
Yeah, it is fun writing her. I've had a lot of fun doing her parts. All right, so tell me, why do you choose to write vampire books?
I've always liked vampires. I think the first vampire series I read was the Vampire Academy books. And then I am obsessed with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so that really added to it as well. I really want to write like an enemies to lovers vampire story, but I feel like I can't do it justice yet because I've never written like a good enemies to lovers. I mean, Omeo and Jewel is kind of enemies to lovers, but not really. Like they get together fast. But
that's based off of Romeo and Juliet, right?
Yeah, it's based off of Romeo and Juliet. So like it's a feuding family, so they're kind of like they kind of hate each other at first, but pretty quickly they get over it. So I don't think it's like a true enemies to lovers, but I really like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I like the Vampire Diaries. I read the Vampire Diaries books too. And then
what about the show that has Suki in it? I've never read those.
True Blood. I started True Blood. I never finished it. I'm on the 3rd season.
Okay.
But I never read the Sookie Stackhouse series. I never read that. I did get the book in a like blind date with the book thing. I did get the complete Sookie Stackhouse, I think, short stories. So I do have that somewhere, but I never read it.
Yeah, I'm not typically one that likes to read vampire stories. I did like Bram Stoker's Dracula. I read that.
I haven't read that one.
Of course.
I read Dracula because I did take a vampire class in college.
So you might have read it.
I think we just watched the movie, one of the movies. I don't think we actually read the book.
Okay. Well, then my favorite author from last year, who I found her before she became famous, Carissa Broadbent. This is all vampires. There's different houses.
I didn't know that was vampires.
Yes, yeah. It's an epic fantasy
tons of times.
Yeah, this is vampires. So the main female character is human. You only know she's human in the first book. By the second book, you find out more about her background. Okay. But she is the adopted daughter of the vampire king. And there's 3 vampire houses, and only one house can be the overall king. And I think it's like every 100 years, I may be wrong on the number because it's been a minute since I read the book. They have this competition, and a lot of people die. But if you win, only one person can win. Everyone else dies. Only one person, they get a gift, a wish from the goddess who made all the vampires. And so that's how her dad became king. And now she wants to win, and she wants to win to make herself magical enough as a conduit for her father to be more powerful. But then it is a fantasy romance. It's a dark fantasy romance.
Okay, dark.
But the romance is very small. It doesn't even come to fruition until like the very end. And it's just in time for like a major twist. It's a very good book.
That sounds good. I've seen the cover and I really like the cover. I just never knew what the book was about.
Yeah, you can't get the paperback now. I found her at the beginning of the year, fell in love with her. I've read everything she's written. And then she got popular. This book got popular, which is not her first book. And it got picked up by a traditional publishing house. And so they're recovering it. I think they're using the same cover, but they're redoing it. And you can't get it now in paperback until May.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, though. Good for her.
Yeah. And I love the book. I love it. And that sold me on vampires. And I've come up with a vampire origin story in my stories. But,
ooh, that's really cool.
Yeah. I've started writing. You know how you said you have like 7 projects going or 6 projects going? Yeah, me too. I've got so many projects going. So, all right. So who is your favorite fantasy romance author?
I actually had to look up the name of this lady because I read her series like 3 years ago. Raven Kennedy, the Plated Prisoner series. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I've read it.
But it's a King Midas retelling, and it's actually pretty good. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but I read the first book and then I read the second in a day, I think a day or two, and then I read the third book, and I never finished the 4th book. And then I think the 5th one just came out, but it's the Plated Prisoner series. The first book I think is called Guild. and it's pretty good. Yeah,
Yeah, that
just a King
sounds
Midas
really
retelling.
familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say Raven Kennedy is my favorite at the moment.
At the moment, mine's Chris Broadbent. All right. What is your favorite fantasy or romance trope and why?
It's got to be enemies to lovers, but I feel like that's everybody's favorite, or like it's really popular. But
It's
like,
popular.
I think I was never really into it until I watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and then when I started watching the Vampire Diaries, I really also like the bad boy good girl trope as well. I would say I like that trope too. So enemies to lovers is probably number one though, especially when it's like vampires versus like either humans or like vampires and werewolves or something. Like they hate
Mhm.
each other, and
Yeah.
then they just fall in love.
Yeah.
I'd like that. Mhm.
Well, that's enemies to lovers.
Is it
Because
okay?
yeah, because the guy, the love interest, which is a male, is a rival house to her
Oh,
father.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, we've got Lauren says a class about vampires. That's cool. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it was a lot of fun. We watched Nosferatu. We read, I don't remember what it's called, but it was really fun. We learned about like the history of vampires and everything. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And I have that in Audible to read next. And I think she's talking about Carissa Broadbent's. I'm really bad with titles, especially when they're long.
Mm-hmm.
The four is easy to remember. The Vault. The
Yeah.
Society. Those are
Yeah.
easy. But when you've got a bunch of, um, uh, prepositions and articles it says the serpent and the wings of night.
Okay.
I just remember serpent and wings.
Okay.
But yeah. I get my own titles mixed up too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when you have more than like a couple books, it's really easy to mix them up, at least in your head, like just the names and stuff.
Yeah. Now I don't have any problem with my trilogy, but
Okay.
those are all. I mean, my titles are all similar. So my trilogy is Blood of the Lily,
Yeah, Blood of the
Soul of a
Lily.
Rose, Tears of Marigold.
Mhm.
And it's the same with my next series is A Curse of, and it's always got an attribute of each of the main characters. So, one's a dragon in the first book, and the other one, I'm not going to give it away, but feathers is an attribute. And then the
Okay.
second one, we know it's a mermaid and a dragon. So,
Okay.
yeah. But I'm like, what? Which one? A curse of what? What am I on? But all right. Well, it's time for us to move into fun and games.
Okay.
So we're going to play the game. It's author's choice, and Katie chose book title Balderdash, and this is which we make up funny names. Let me pull up the actual. So Balderdash means senseless talk or writing nonsense. So it doesn't have to make any sense. Okay. So we are going to do a random drawing. Oh, I got to take the 4 off of there. And we're going to pick 4 words. And of these, we need to use at least 2 of them. And then we can use optional, any adjective, adverbs, prepositions, conjunctions, or articles that we want to have. We'll give ourselves 2 minutes to come up with a book title, and we'll share those. And then we'll craft a short plot summary based off of our invented title. Again, we'll be on a time limit. So those in the chat, if you want to play along, you can also try to make your own book title and summary when we get there and share with us as well. All right, let's go ahead and I need to write this down. So make sure I got my pen and paper. So the first word unicorn.
Unicorn. Okay. I'm writing it down too, just on my phone.
Lust. That's hero.
Hero.
Maybe it might be villain. I thought, oh, that's cool. And one more. Enemies. I think we might have had enemies in the last one. I don't remember. All right. So I'm going to add those to the chat. So you've got unicorn, lust, hero, and enemies. And we only have to use 2 of these. We can use all 4 if we want, but we only need to use up to 2. And again, you can use any other adjectives, articles, adverbs, prepositions. Let me set the clock. Nope, wrong button. We don't need a calculator. All right, 2 minutes on the clock and go. At 10 seconds. All right, that's time. All right, do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I can go first. I'm not very sure if mine's very good, but I have enemies of the unicorn hero.
Okay.
Yeah. I wasn't really feeling it, but that's the best I could come up with.
I've got 2 I really like.
Okay.
My first one was enemies to unicorn lust, or enemies to lust.
I like those ones.
But I also came up with lust of the hero's unicorn, or hero lust in the unicorn's enemy.
Okay, I like the first one a lot.
Yeah, I do too. Enemies to unicorn lust.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could be actually kind of funny. Let's check in with chat to see if you guys came up with anything. Christina, hello. Hope everyone's well. Just popping in before the game starts. And my house gets really loud to show some love and hugs like fun. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we were just talking about the timing of this with the Super Bowl, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So. And I don't know if anybody came up with anything. I'm not seeing anything come through the chat. Sometimes there's a bit of a lag. So
that's
a second. But yeah, so the next part, go back to the directions, is that we'll write a short plot summary based on our invented title. So if I go with enemies to unicorn lust, that's gonna be something.
We got one.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Comments, yeah.
The lustful hero.
I like that one too.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if I could add like ing because I was thinking of like lusting after the unicorn hero. That's what I was thinking of, but I didn't know if I could. Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to go with that, because lusting is an adverb.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
I'll do that one. Lusting after the unicorn hero.
That actually sounds more like. So that sounds like a romantic fantasy, like like someone in our it's a fantasy romance, but like like that fairy tale feeling, like lusty, like how the Little Mermaid lusted after the prince. But the lustful hero sounds like an anti-hero.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I do too. Just for what it sounds like, an anti-hero. And I think that mine feels like it's a comedy, and I can't write comedies. Enemies of unicorn lust. We'll see. We'll see. All right, let me go ahead and get the timer set back up. This will be for 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right, we're ready to read our stories? Or
Yes.
not our stories. So just to be clear, so I don't mess anybody up, this is a plot summary, short plot summary based on invented title.
Okay.
And remember, it can be senseless. It doesn't have to make any sense.
Okay.
We're going to get started and go. That's the end. Okay. Do you want to read yours first?
Sure. I finished mine pretty quickly, but I'm not sure I really like it.
Okay.
So I got for lusting after the unicorn hero. I named my main characters. So I
Me too.
had Alda was trapped in the woods during a thunderstorm. Lightning hit a tree and it snapped, falling towards her. Alda screamed, but she was saved by a unicorn ramming into her side with its body, so not the horn. Her hero unicorn looked her into the eyes, and she was entranced by his brown eyes. The unicorn transformed into a human before speaking, and then Alda instantly fell in love with his voice and his heroic act of saving her.
Oh, that's very sweet. All right. Enemies to unicorn lust. Jerome the gnome hates anyone in his garden. He toils all day to make it the best one in the village. So when he finds out someone has been eating his prized rhubarb, he becomes, what did I write here? Livid, and promises to kick the offender soundly. Peppercorn the unicorn stumbles into a beautiful garden one day, totally by accident, and when she eats the rhubarb, it's like no other aphrodisiac she's ever had. But when a hot-headed gnome comes yelling at her, then stops short, real short, she can't she can't help the way her heart beats or the way her tail swishes. Jerome wants to make Peppercorn pay, but that tail swish entrances him. He wants to grab hold, and that's where I left off.
Oh my god.
He wants to grab hold and swing for the sky.
That's really funny.
Okay. I was not doing a real story there. You got Jerome the gnome and Peppercorn the unicorn.
I love those names. Those are really funny.
Yeah. That's what I felt like. Enemies to Unicorn Lust felt like it was a comedy to me. So I was like, this is gonna be stupid funny. So
yeah.
All right. Oh, I left this up here. Plot summaries are hard. You're just supposed to have fun with it, Lauren. Just have fun. And Jordan stopped by. Hello, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. Hey, Lauren. And then Nicole, are you working on anything new at the moment? Oh, talking to Lauren's sister. So cool. Well, and I don't know, Lauren, if you're still here, if you want to share anything that you've written with us, but you don't have to. But let me take this off. Find the right button. Well, I've got the hiccups. So do you think you would want to write like the story that you just wrote the plot summary for?
I'm not sure I'm into unicorn shifters or like how a story like that would work, but I mean, it could be interesting. Maybe there's like an audience for that. Who knows?
Well, what about a unicorn shifter in one of your books, like one of your vampire books?
That could be interesting. Because I am writing a book right now. I think the one I told you that I finished that I don't like, and there's a bunch of different mythical creatures in there, but there's no unicorn. There's a Pegasus, but not a unicorn.
Well, maybe it could be Pegasus instead.
Yeah, maybe it could be that instead.
Yeah. I don't think I'd make this one anything. I don't think I'd make it.
Make it like a short story. Really short story, like a reader magnet type thing.
The monster romance.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we're going to get anything else with the chat. So we could choose one of our titles to work off of Enemies to Unicorn Lust. I mean, I plan on having a unicorn in my world, but not anytime soon. or we could do you want to do a random fantasy prompt?
Yeah, we do a random fantasy prompt.
Okay. I have 22 of them. So 1 through 22, give me a number.
18.
Okay. I might get this on the screen. Oh, we got a comment. All right, so in a city, didn't go there. In a city where portals to different dimensions open at random, a human and a fae find themselves trapped in an alternate realm together.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
And you could replace it like a human and a vampire find themselves trapped in an alternate realm together. Okay. Oh, hello, Morgan. Welcome.
Hi.
So we're just getting to the writing sprint. And so this is the prompt that we have up. It's just a random prompt. You don't have to use it, but you can if you want to. We're going to be spending 30 minutes. Oh, wait, so her title that she came up with was The Lustful Hero. This is based off of our book title, Balderdash, where we got random words that we had to use to make summaries out of. And so Lauren has part one. Makes a deal with a demon to save his sister's life, but when he must carry out the promise he made, forces him to cross a line he thought he never would.
Ooh,
So,
I like that already.
me too. Hi, Musical Maggie. I'm going to use the sprint to read this homework chapter. I thought I was done, and I was not. Well, hopefully you'll get it done during the sprint. Part two, is it worth losing his soul, or will the alliances he make along the way carve out a new destiny? Ooh. Yeah, that sounds really fantastical, actually. I like that.
That one sounds really good.
Mm-hmm. It has like that very, very like Lord of the Rings, like kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very big because are you going to save the realm, right? So it's yeah, save the destiny. It's funny about unicorns. Oh, My Little Pony. All right.
My niece loves My Little Pony and all the unicorns and stuff.
Me too. I watched it all the time when I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta get the sprint added. There, the timer. There we go. I gotta add it.
Okay. How long of a timer are we doing? 30?
30 minutes.
30 minutes? Okay.
All right. And again, you guys can use the sprint however you want. You can use prompt. You can work on anything else other than writing. If you've got reading, homeworks, classwork, whatever it is you guys got to do. And we'll start in 3, 2, 1, and go. And that is time. What did you do?
I did pretty good. I got about 1,000 words in.
Oh yeah, you write fast. I tried to work out the prompt and then I couldn't get anywhere, and then I just got distracted. I went and checked my email.
That's no problem. No, I worked on a ghostwriting project.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, you've got work to do, so right. You said you got deadlines. Yeah, tell us in chat how you guys did. And it looks like Jocelyn came in. Happy Sunday, everyone. Dropped in to give a like. Thank you. Appreciate it. May do it as a short story. I'm glad you guys like the idea. I do. I like the idea.
It was great.
I think Jordan was talking to Lauren about Nicole and stuff. So I'm not gonna put that up on the screen. That was chatter between them. But yeah. So if you guys have any last minute questions for the author, now is the time to drop them in the chat with the queue. I will ask them before we wrap up entirely. But before we do wrap up the chat, Katie, I want to say Caitlin, but I'm like, I know her, it's Katie. If you want to tell us a little bit about what you're working on next and when it might come out. I know you kind of talked about your one project. Do you have anything else?
Do I have anything else? I am thinking about in 2025 releasing some holiday books. So like some romance holiday books, but maybe they'll have supernatural creatures in them. I'm not sure yet, but that's what I'm thinking about doing for 2025. So I'm going to probably start working on that over the summer. So I think there's going to be a New Year's book, a Valentine's Day book, a 4th of July book, a Halloween book, and a Christmas book. So I think it's going to be those 5 at the moment.
I love that
so
idea.
I'm thinking about doing that. They're definitely going to be romance. I don't know if they're going to be contemporary romance or paranormal or fantasy romance. I don't know yet. But that's the next project I have that I know for sure I'm going to do.
Okay. I was trying to drop some links in the chat there. So I dropped this is also pinned at the top too. This is to the 4. So
thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we end the show, please tell everyone where they can find you and purchase your books.
So you can find me on TikTok under writer KSY. You can also find me on Instagram, but I don't really post on Instagram that much anymore. But I am on TikTok almost daily. And then you can find my books. All of my books are on Amazon, and then most of them are on Barnes & Noble too. So, yeah.
Instagram. I guess that's probably why we don't connect as much, because I'm not really on TikTok, but I'm on Instagram like all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, Stacey says this was my best sprint of the day, including the sprint where I was able to copy a scene. 546 words. Oh, congratulations.
That's really good. Good job.
Yes, that's awesome. I think my average is right around between like 250 and 350, somewhere in there, if I'm typing, you know. But if I can like really go and my wrist is not hurting too much, then I don't know if you guys heard that popping.
Oh, I just heard it.
Yeah, I damaged it in a fall down a mountain. 2013? No, 2011. 2013 is when I had my kid. So yeah, and they said I tore my TFC, and it doesn't have blood flow, so they could go in there and sew it back together, but it would just fall apart because there's no blood flow to promote healing. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to go through that surgery. So but yeah, if I do really good, I can get upwards of 500 words, but usually it doesn't come that fast.
Yeah, I average about 1,000 in half an hour.
Yeah, you're a pretty fast typer.
Yes, I'm thankful for that.
I'm going to throw up this book one last time so you guys can see it. There is the 4. I was an art reader for this book 2 years ago. It's a quick, awesome, sweet romance read, and I really did enjoy the book. So
thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Caitlin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I know it's the Super Bowl, so people are missing out on that if they're watching this, but thanks for everyone who showed up.
Yeah, well, not everyone's a Super Bowl fan, so there we go.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everyone in the chat, for joining us today. Tomorrow, I don't have an author. It's my first day off in the month, but I will be back on Tuesday. And so next on Charm Chats and Happily Ever After Sprints, I have my only male guest author, a fantasy romance writer, Adam Gaffin, and he'll be on the show the 13th of February at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. And that will do it. I got to hit the right buttons here. Brand. Okay, yep, that'll do it. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.